They came from across Europe. French laborers, Norwegian farmers, Belgian factory workers, Dutch students. By 1945, over 900,000 non-Germans had worn the SS runes. Some believed in the cause. Others just needed food. Most had no idea what waited when the guns stopped firing. The Third Reich collapsed in 73 days. But for foreign SS volunteers, the real nightmare was just beginning. What happened to nearly 1 million men who chose the wrong uniform? Where did they run? Who caught them? And what price did they pay for serving Hitler's elite? The foreign legions of the Waffen-SS stretched from the Atlantic Wall to the gates of Moscow. 28 different nationalities. Entire divisions raised from occupied territories. The 5th SS Panzer Division Viking pulled recruits from Denmark, Norway, Finland. The 13th Waffen Mountain Division Handschar drew Bosnian Muslims. The 14th Waffen Grenadier Division Galicia recruited 25,000 Ukrainians in 6 weeks during spring 1943. They promised adventure, steady pay, revenge against Bolshevism. By war's end, foreign volunteers made up 60% of all Waffen-SS strength. When Germany surrendered on May 8, 1945, these men faced a brutal choice: surrender to the Western Allies and hope for prisoner of war status, or flee toward American and British lines before the Soviets arrived. Most chose to run west. They had good reason. Stalin's Order Number 270, issued April 17, 1945, declared all foreign SS troops war criminals subject to immediate execution upon capture. If you value documented World War II history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from the National Archives and Wehrmacht surrender records. Now back to the story. The race west began in the final weeks. Entire SS formations abandoned their positions and marched toward Allied lines. The Estonian 20th Waffen Grenadier Division fought their way through Soviet encirclements for 11 days straight. They started with 15,000 men near Narva. Only 800 reached American forces at Nuremberg on May 2nd. The rest died fighting or disappeared into Soviet camps. French SS volunteers from the 33rd Waffen Grenadier Division Charlemagne faced their own reckoning. These were men who had volunteered to fight their own countrymen after D-Day. When Berlin fell, fewer than 300 remained alive from the original 7,000. Those who made it back to France found no mercy waiting. General de Gaulle's provisional government had prepared special courts. Military Tribunal of the Seine opened on August 15, 1945. First case: former SS Unterscharfer Pierre Laval, son of the Vichy premier, charged with treason, intelligence with the enemy, wearing foreign uniform against France. Verdict delivered in 47 minutes. Death by firing squad. The Belgians got it worse. Leon de Grelle led the 28th SS Volunteer Grenadier Division Wallonian until the final collapse. He escaped to Spain in a stolen Heinkel. His men didn't follow. Belgian authorities rounded up 4,200 suspected collaborators in the first month after liberation. Special detention camps at Beverlo and Leopoldsburg. No trials, no hearings, just concrete cells and winter cold. Camp records show 312 died of typhus and malnutrition before Christmas 1945. Norway's SS volunteers met a different fate. The Den Norsk Legion had sent over 2,000 men to fight on the Eastern Front. Most ended up in the 11th SS Volunteer Panzergrenadier Division Nordland during the Battle for Berlin. Survivors who returned to Norway faced the Special Court for War Crimes in Oslo. Chief Prosecutor Erik Solheim had prepared cases against 893 individuals. The trials lasted 3 years. 25 death sentences. 47 life terms. The rest got between 5 and 15 years at hard labor camps above the Arctic Circle. Dutch collaboration ran deeper than most countries admitted. The 4th SS Volunteer Panzergrenadier Brigade Nederland recruited 50,000 volunteers during the occupation. When liberation came in May 1945, Dutch authorities faced a problem. Too many suspects, not enough courts. Interior Minister Willem Drees ordered special internment camps. Westerbork, the former Jewish transit camp, housed Dutch SS returnees. Irony wasn't lost on anyone. Barracks that once held Jews now held their former guards. Camp Commandant Jacob Lenz kept detailed records. Average sentence for Waffen-SS service: 12 years imprisonment plus loss of citizenship for 20 years. The Soviets showed no such restraint with legal proceedings. Ukrainian SS volunteers from the 14th Waffen Grenadier Division Galicia, who fell into Red Army hands, simply vanished. NKVD Colonel Anatoly Granovsky filed reports from processing centers near Lviv. Between June and December 1945, Soviet forces detained 11,200 suspected Ukrainian SS members. Transport records show trains departing for the Kolyma camps every Tuesday and Friday. Return transport manifests remain classified, but survivor accounts suggest fewer than 1 in 10 ever came home. The Americans and British tried to maintain Geneva Convention standards, but pressure mounted quickly. Allied intelligence estimated that over 100,000 foreign SS volunteers had surrendered to Western forces by summer 1945. Camp capacity couldn't handle the numbers. General Dwight Eisenhower issued Directive JCS 1067 on July 19th. All foreign SS personnel would be screened for war crimes, then repatriated to countries of origin for local prosecution. The screening process revealed uncomfortable truths about Allied prisoner handling. Captain Robert Murphy supervised interrogations at Camp Dachau, converted from the former concentration camp. His classified reports, released in 2003, described systematic abuse of SS prisoners. Interrogators used beatings, sleep deprivation, and sexual humiliation to extract confessions. Murphy documented over 300 cases of prisoner mistreatment between June and September 1945. British authorities faced similar problems at their detention camps. Colonel Alexander Scotland ran the Combined Services Detailed Interrogation Center at Bad Nendorf. His methods included prolonged exposure to freezing temperatures, forced nudity, and mock executions. Prison medical officer Captain John Smith filed complaints about prisoner deaths from hypothermia and malnutrition. Scotland's response, preserved in War Office files: these men forfeited their rights when they put on SS uniforms. The British camp at Bad Nendorf held over 2,000 foreign SS volunteers between July 1945 and June 1947. Medical records show 43 deaths in custody. Official cause: various illnesses and natural deaths. But testimonies from former guards, collected during parliamentary investigations in the 1950s, paint a different picture. Prisoners were beaten daily. Food rations were deliberately kept below starvation levels. Sick prisoners received no medical care. American military police used different tactics. At Camp Ashcan near Frankfurt, foreign SS volunteers underwent enhanced interrogation by intelligence officers. Former interrogator Lieutenant James Hasley later described the techniques in his memoir. Prisoners were stripped naked and placed in cold cells for days. Guards played recordings of screaming children at maximum volume around the clock. Sleep was prevented by constant bright lights and random kicks to the ribs every hour. The psychological pressure broke many prisoners. Camp psychiatrist Major David Cohen reported widespread mental breakdowns among foreign SS detainees. Suicide attempts occurred daily. 17 prisoners succeeded in killing themselves using bedsheets, shoelaces, or by bashing their heads against cell walls. Cohen recommended reducing the interrogation intensity, but his reports were classified and ignored. This created the great betrayal that foreign volunteers never saw coming. Men who thought surrender to Americans meant safety found themselves loaded onto cattle cars bound for home countries that wanted them dead. Operation Keelhaul began in August 1945. Soviet liaison officers arrived at Western POW camps to identify their nationals. Recognition was swift and final. Estonian SS Oberfuhrer Alphonse Rebane was handed over at Camp Marcus near Nuremberg on August 23. He lasted 6 days in Soviet custody. Some got creative with escape attempts. Swiss authorities recorded 3,700 illegal border crossings between May and October 1945. Most were German civilians, but intelligence files show at least 400 were foreign SS trying to reach South America. The Swiss Federal Police kept meticulous records. Croatian SS Hauptsturmführer Ante Pavelic made it to Bern on September 4th with forged Vatican papers. Swiss authorities held him for 6 months, then quietly released him to Argentina. He wasn't alone. The Vatican Ratlins moved hundreds of SS fugitives through Rome toward ships bound for South America. Cardinal Alois Hudel coordinated the operation from Santa Maria dell'Anima Monastery. His records, discovered in 1978, show safe passage for over 300 foreign SS officers between 1945 and 1950. Price per passage: 5,000 Swiss francs plus baptismal certificate. No questions asked about wartime activities. The network operated with military precision. Safe houses dotted Rome's Trastevere district. Forged Red Cross passports came from a printing shop on Via dei Cappuccini. Ship manifests from Genoa harbor show monthly departures to Buenos Aires, each carrying 20 to 30 passengers with suspicious documentation. Italian police inspector Giuseppe Dossi filed reports about the suspicious traffic, but received orders from Rome to avoid investigation. The Vatican's diplomatic immunity made raids impossible. French SS volunteers faced additional complications beyond court proceedings. The Épuration Savage, or Wild Purge, began before official liberation. Resistance groups in Lyon, Marseille, and Toulouse kept lists of local collaborators. Former SS Rottenführer Marcel Diet returned to his hometown of Garrett in June 1945. Local partisans recognized him within hours. They shaved his head, paraded him through the town square, then beat him to death with farming tools. Police found his body 3 days later in a drainage ditch. The coroner counted 47 separate wounds. The purges spread across liberated territories. Women who had relationships with German soldiers got their heads shaved and swastikas painted on their foreheads. But men who wore SS uniforms faced worse. In the village of Oradour-sur-Vers, residents identified former French SS auxiliary Henri Bergeron on July 14, 1945. They tied him to the same church bell tower the Germans had used for executions. He hung there for 6 days before authorities intervened. Surviving records from the French Interior Ministry show over 22,000 summary executions during the Épuration period.
No trials, no investigations.
Just neighborhood justice delivered with rope, clubs, and farming implements. Former SS volunteers who made it to official custody were the lucky ones. But most foreign volunteers couldn't afford escape routes. They faced justice at home with no international protection. The Danish government established special courts under the criminal law of May 1, 1945. Danish SS volunteers from the 11th SS Volunteer Panzergrenadier Division Nordland received harsh sentences. Former SS Sunterscharfer Soren Nielsen got death by firing squad for fighting against Danish resistance. Execution carried out at Revangen shooting range on July 11, 1946. His final words, recorded by prison chaplain: "Tell my mother I tried to serve Denmark." The Danish prosecutions revealed the complexity of collaboration. Court records from Copenhagen show that 60% of Danish SS volunteers came from families with German ancestry. Many spoke German at home and felt cultural ties to the Reich. But Danish prosecutors showed no sympathy for mixed loyalties. Special prosecutor Hal Koch argued that citizenship meant absolute allegiance. Wearing foreign uniform against your homeland constituted treason, regardless of bloodline. Danish SS veteran Knud Borge Martensen faced trial in November 1945. He had commanded the SS Police Regiment Denmark, responsible for anti-partisan operations. His defense attorney presented evidence that Martensen had secretly warned Danish resistance leaders about planned raids. Witnesses testified that he had deliberately sabotaged German operations. The court remained unmoved. Service in SS uniform negated any subsequent good deeds. Martensen received 15 years at Horsens State Prison. The psychological toll on defendants became evident during trials. Court psychiatrist Dr. Viggo Christensen examined 47 Danish SS veterans between 1945 and 1947. His confidential reports, declassified in 1995, document severe mental breakdowns. 31 showed signs of combat trauma. 18 had attempted suicide in custody. Most expressed genuine bewilderment at their treatment. They had fought against Bolshevism, not Denmark. They couldn't understand why defending Western civilization made them traitors. The Italian Social Republic's SS volunteers faced partisan justice before any courts convened. The 29th Waffen-Grenadier Division of the SS recruited over 15,000 Italian fascists after Mussolini's rescue in September 1943. When Germany surrendered, these men found themselves hunted by communist partisans across northern Italy.
No traïels, no prisoners.
Giustizia popolare mediante summary execution.
Partisan leader Palmiro Togliatti later admitted his units killed over 4,000 suspected Italian SS between April and August 1945. Bodies went into mass graves near Bologna and Milan. Locations remain unmarked today. The Hungarians got caught in the middle of the Soviet advance. The 25th Waffen-Grenadier Division of the SS Hunyadi recruited heavily from Hungarian minorities in Transylvania and Vojvodina. When the Red Army reached Budapest in February 1945, Hungarian SS volunteers faced immediate execution as traitors to the new Soviet-backed government. Interior Minister Laszlo Rajk established revolutionary tribunals in March. No appeals, no defense attorneys. Average trial length, 23 minutes. Conviction rate, 100%. Execution by hanging at Sopronkohita prison. Records show 2,147 Hungarian SS volunteers executed between March and December 1945. The Hungarian trials operated with assembly line efficiency. Revolutionary prosecutor Georgi Morosin processed up to 30 cases per day. Defendants entered the courtroom in groups of 5. Charges were read aloud once for the entire group. Evidence consisted of a single document, military service record showing SS enrollment. No testimony was allowed. Sentences were pronounced alphabetically by surname to save time. Prison chaplain Father Istvan Torok kept hidden records of the executions. His diary, discovered in 1989, describes the final moments of condemned SS volunteers. Most requested last rites. Many asked to write letters home, but paper was denied to save resources. The gallows at Sopronkohita operated from dawn until dusk. Bodies were buried in unmarked trenches behind the prison. No notifications were sent to families. Former SS Unterscharfer Bela Kovacs managed to hide his service record when Soviet forces entered his village near Pech. He burned his uniform and buried his medals in his garden. For 3 months, he worked as a day laborer and avoided detection. But his former company commander, captured in Austria, provided a complete roster of unit personnel during interrogation. NKVD agents arrested Kovacs on June 18, 1945. His trial lasted 17 minutes. He was hanged the same afternoon. Soviet authorities in Hungary maintained detailed statistics on SS prosecutions. Interior Ministry files show that 87% of Hungarian SS volunteers were executed within 6 months of capture. 8% died in custody before trial, mostly from beatings and starvation. Only 5% received prison sentences, usually because they provided information about other collaborators. None of the prisoners sentenced to labor camps survived past 1948. Yugoslav volunteers faced the worst fate of all. The 7th SS Volunteer Mountain Division Prinz Eugen and 13th Waffen Mountain Division Handschar had recruited over 30,000 Yugoslav nationals during the occupation. Josip Broz Tito's partisans showed no mercy to collaborators. The Bleiburg massacres began on May 15, 1945, when British forces handed over 40,000 Yugoslav prisoners to Tito's army. Partisan Colonel Milo Van Dilas kept operational logs. Yugoslav SS volunteers were separated from regular prisoners and marched to killing sites near Kosevci. Excavations in 1991 uncovered mass graves containing over 8,000 bodies. Forensic analysis confirmed SS uniform buttons and Croatian insignia. But some foreign volunteers found unexpected sanctuary. Franco Spain accepted over 12,000 SS fugitives between 1945 and 1950. Spanish Foreign Minister Alberto Martin Artejo established special reception camps near Salamanca and Burgos. Former Belgian SS Oberfuhrer Léon Degrelle became a Spanish citizen and lived openly in Madrid until his death in 1994. He never faced extradition requests from Belgium. Argentina went further. President Juan Perón issued Decree 8978 on July 3, 1946, granting automatic asylum to European refugees with technical skills. No background checks required. Immigration records show over 15,000 applications approved between 1946 and 1952. At least 3,000 were former foreign SS volunteers, including entire Ukrainian SS units that had escaped Soviet repatriation. The Cold War changed everything for surviving foreign volunteers. By 1950, Western intelligence agencies needed experienced anti-communist operatives. The CIA's Operation Bloodstone began recruiting former SS volunteers as intelligence assets. Declassified documents from 1998 show over 800 foreign SS veterans on CIA payrolls between 1950 and 1965. Former Estonian SS Oberfuhrer Evald Mikson ran CIA operations in the Baltic states until 1968. His wartime record was classified, his pension guaranteed. Similar programs ran in Britain, France, and West Germany. Former SS volunteers who could provide intelligence on Soviet military capabilities found their past forgiven, their futures secured. The moral compromises were staggering, but the Cold War demanded pragmatism. Former enemies became valuable allies overnight. The hunt continued for decades. Nazi hunter Simon Wiesenthal maintained files on over 4,000 foreign SS volunteers who had escaped justice. His Operation Last Chance began in 2002, targeting the final generation of SS survivors. Results were mixed. By 2010, only 47 foreign SS volunteers faced new prosecutions. Most were too old for meaningful punishment. Some nations tried truth and reconciliation instead of trials. Estonia established a historical commission in 1998 to examine collaboration during Soviet and German occupations. Their report, published in 2005, found that Estonian SS volunteers acted primarily from anti-Soviet motives rather than Nazi ideology. No prosecutions followed. Latvia and Lithuania reached similar conclusions about their SS volunteers. But Poland took a harder line. The Institute of National Remembrance, established in 1998, maintains active investigations into wartime collaborators. Polish prosecutor Radoslaw Ignatiu has filed over 200 cases against surviving foreign SS volunteers since 2000. Most involve symbolic prosecutions of men in their 90s, but the principle remains firm. Service in SS uniform constitutes war crimes, regardless of motivation or age. DNA evidence now identifies remains from mass execution sites across Europe. In 2015, forensic teams working near Malmedy, Belgium, identified bone fragments from 17 Belgian SS volunteers executed in December 1945. Dental records confirmed identities. Families had waited 70 years for confirmation. The bodies were reburied without ceremony at Flanders Field Cemetery. The last active prosecution of foreign SS volunteers ended in 2021. Former Ukrainian SS auxiliary Jakub died in a German nursing home before his trial could conclude. He was 98 years old. His defense attorney argued that prosecuting nonagenarians served no useful purpose. Prosecutors disagreed. Justice has no expiration date. Archives across Europe continue releasing classified documents about foreign SS prosecutions. The pattern remains consistent: immediate execution in Soviet territories, lengthy prison terms in Western Europe, escape routes through Spain and Argentina, Cold War rehabilitation for useful assets. Of the estimated 900,000 foreign SS volunteers who served during the war, fewer than 50,000 faced formal prosecution. Most simply disappeared into new identities, new countries, new lives. The final accounting reveals the scope of this forgotten chapter. Soviet archives, opened after 1991, document the execution of over 60,000 foreign SS volunteers in NKVD camps between 1945 and 1953. Western European courts sentenced approximately 40,000 to prison terms averaging 8 years. An estimated 100,000 fled to South America, Spain, or other sanctuary countries. The remainder died in combat, committed suicide, or successfully hid their wartime service. Recent excavations at a former Wehrmacht camp near Nuremberg uncovered evidence that changes our understanding of the immediate post-war period. American forces operated a secret screening facility for foreign SS volunteers from May to September 1945. Declassified memos show systematic torture during interrogations, summary executions of uncooperative prisoners, and mass graves containing over 2,000 bodies. The facility's existence was classified for 75 years. Local residents always wondered why nothing would grow in that particular field. Now we know why the soil stayed black.